one of the most important things to me about like engaging in a local community is that I feel honored and appreciated by my peers and my colleagues. And so getting the grant was, for me, like a real gesture of like, oh, we see your work and we see like what you bring to the table, and that felt really meaningful to me. So I've been to like numerous residencies and kind of intensive workshop programs for specific projects, as well as like very open-ended residencies where there's no expectation of production, no expectation of completion of anything, etc. And oftentimes when I'm in those environments, I'm most often met with, not met with, but there are also others there who are like at the same stage in their practice. And then there are oftentimes others who you're like, how the hell did you get here? And that can be complicated sometimes when people are like really different stages. But there's an expectation that you're not at different stages. And I think participating in the dock station at the Berlinale was the first program I've ever been to where I felt fully, like utterly, completely met and seen by every person and every mentor and every, it was totally mind-blowing to like, for everyone to just be able to like be on a super high functioning level and like really be able to give fully present feedback, fully present awareness, and also just have a really like broad understanding of how things unfold in a global context. Like when you're talking about, the project I'm working on is a pretty personal project, but also like overlaps with all these different kinds of politics, abolition politics and queer politics, and medical industrial complex politics. And it's sometimes hard to have conversations that are really intersectional like that in the States, but I'm not trying to say that Europe is whatever, like awesome or whatever. It's still got its own problems, but I feel like because there is so much kind of like geographical closeness between people with vastly different cultures, there's a lot more just generalized awareness of like what cultural difference means. And so for conversations about my work to be able to unfold from that kind of global context was like totally the best. I've applied for many grants, and this was the easiest grant application I've ever done in my life. I was able to do it in probably a half an hour. Having the process be so concise and simple is like, is the best thing you can do, because you're not shutting out anyone because of their resources immediately. Resources even in terms of the amount of time people have, especially folks that are like working full time or whatever, like they don't have time to like sit down and do an application that takes 7 hours or 8 hours or whatever. So I feel like in terms of being a community-minded organization, that's like a really important piece of this process, is to have that application be simple. And it also then, the simplicity of the application encourages sort of like simplicity in the way you apply. So you don't feel in a position to have to like, make everything sound super smart. Just say exactly what you want. And I think that's totally helpful. Something that could be cool, maybe not necessary, whatever, is like to have like studio visits be part of that intermediary process. Not studio visits in terms of like critique, that's not what I'm interested in, but just in terms of like having someone in your studio and showing them some work. Because the way you can talk about it, or the way you would talk about it in context, is like, because the application process is so like concise, I think having anything that could be broadened in a more casual environment that's not about like writing, an artist statement about the intersectional hybrid identities at play in your work, or the liminal spaces or whatever, could be really meaningful.